You want a tax practitioner who will sit down with you and will be patient enough with you, looking at your scenario and being able to talk to you in a way that makes you understand your position as a tax person better.
Finance for hippies, TeethSwag and Ducky. Finance for hippies, TeethSwag and Ducky. Finance for hippies, TeethSwag and Ducky.
He has dictated taste and what's hot for the last 3 decades. His name is Andre Young.
Okay, aka Dr. Dre.
For sure.
All right.
Dr. Dre gave us Exhibit, he gave us Machiavelli, he gave us Slim Shady, he gave us 50 Cent. In his stable, Busta Rhymes was once his signed artist. Nas was signed to Dr. Dre at some point under the firm. Eve, the list continues. He once said,
Ducky, you're affecting ratings. Let's get the show going.
please.
I'm off, I'm quiet. He once said,
Dr. Dre said, he is the God that creates the stars. Give him half of his budget and a star is born. Today, we have a Dr. Dre, an Andre, but an Andre for money. We got a super producer.
you pulled it off.
Super producer for tax savings,
Oh
for tax
my
returns.
Gosh.
Nagi does his thing
He
again.
pulled it off.
I
He pulled
did.
it off. He pulled it off, man. That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. Welcome to the episode.
Welcome to the tax episode.
That's the tax episode.
For sure. Today, we're going to fix up all your problems that you've had with our tax receiver. By the time you leave this episode, you're going to be filing tax returns, getting money back. Well, we don't know about that part, but
We hope so.
yeah, you will be fine. This is your super guest, Don Salamanca, and his co-host, aka henchman, aka he gets my coffee every morning. Swagalicious,
AKA TeethSwag, AKA if you got a girl, watch out. Do not let her listen to the show, cause Teeth got his teeth on attack, man. I'm here. I'm ready, bro. I'm ready.
Sure.
And I think we got a dope ass show. I won't lie, guys. For me, it was quite. Ndaki actually traumatized me for this episode. He got me. This dude here got me to watch the budget speech. So
That's a good thing.
Can you hear that voice, guys? Can you hear that voice? Let me actually explain who we got sitting here right next to us. So just bear with me. I went through the budget speech. I'm a bit traumatized. I've never done that. But, I'm going to try keep it level for everyone. So let me explain who we got sitting down here. So I actually found my man's here. I actually saw him for the first time on Nicolette Mashila's channel, aka the Financial Bunny, and he was dropping some game about finances. So he has over 10 years in tax. He is the talented Mr. Ripley of the finance industry, and there's a reason I call him that, because my man here is a foodie, he's a photographer, and he's a proud dad. He balances everything. He's out here going for that balance, and he is the man behind the Andre Bothma tax channel. We are talking, man, this is heavyweight stuff. I think I should be a professional announcer. And he is also the man who gave us this beautiful little statement where, for all my hippies out there who are moving stuff underground, he was like, there is no reason to fear SARS unless you're doing something wrong. I'm sitting next to Andre Bothma, the tax man. What's up?
the tax man.
I mean, wow, guys, that's an introduction.
That's what's up.
I
didn't expect
15
that.
minutes.
You big time now.
You can start the laundry list.
You big time now. You've arrived to the platform. I don't know how you can podcast after what we're about to do today, but wow, man, thanks.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for coming through.
Thank you so much. No, it was good.
Beautiful.
In terms of libations, finance for hippies is always on point. We're drinking fine wine, Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir.
A very easy red wine to drink.
You know what? We'll be honest. Through season 1, season 2, we've drank a whole lot of stuff. But no one has ever requested such a fine wine. In terms of, I don't know, Salamanca, drinks tequila. He's Latino. He drinks lots of tequila. But in terms of wines, Pinot Noirs are well respected. I don't know much about wines, but they're not a mellow. Please tell us a bit about why did you request Pinot Noir? Why do you find it so enjoyable?
To be honest, I've been, I like a Merlot. Merlot is nice.
Yeah.
Cabernet Sauvignon goes very well with a steak. But I find a very easy drinking wine, socializing. It's not heavy, but you can taste it, and it sits around your tongue, and you can taste if you've got a good palate, you can even taste the notes a bit more clearer. But it's easy to drink. I mean, social drinking wine is a great wine to choose from. And if you were to Google, what is the best drinking wine to drink? Pinot Noir is usually number 1 there.
That's what's up. You're talking about wine notes. You educating that here. I mean, he's pretending like he knows what you're saying.
I've got no idea, what goes into winemaking, but I can appreciate it.
To our listeners out there, Pinot means pine, Noir means black. Apparently it has to do something with the grapes. But there you go. We are drinking something that's very close to where you're from. You guys do it the best. In the world, you are very respected in terms of wine.
And give the brand a shout out?
For sure. I don't even know how to pronounce this. It's Haute Cabrier. I don't know if I
I actually know how that's properly pronounced, but I'm gonna let you just die. This is like the sound bite of the season. This is a sound bite of the season. And this is a soundbite of the season. But let's maybe get a bit into the business of why we're here. This man's here to discuss. He's here to talk about about taxes, about one of the most avoided subject matters in the entire creative game, in the entire creative industry. I mean, we know how our artists have actually excelled at just avoiding tax. We've made all the kind of mistakes that one can make when it comes to that game. But before we even round up there, just maybe can you give us a little background just on your journey? Firstly, where can people find you? Just if they want to know more about what you're doing.
Who's Andre?
Yeah,
Why are you mixing food and taxes? Those things don't in wine. They don't go together well.
Yeah, I mean, I jumped on a Twitter game, and I suppose that is where you'll...
Give the handles as well, please.
Yeah, the handle is, it's at Andre Bothma Tax, as simple as that.
Yeah.
It used to be Andre, and in a long series of number, which was my birth date.
Yeah.
And then after some advice, and I asked around and said, dude, just change your Twitter handle. You can do it. And then so I changed it. Now it's Andre Bothma Tax, same as my YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
So it's easy for people. If they find me on Twitter, they can find me on YouTube easily. The reason why I decided, on Twitter, when you play, if you're only talking about tax, you end up looking like that's the only thing that you are passionate about, that you know about. And if you're a personal brand or you're a person. Are you tax? No, a company does tax.
Boss.
A person has a husband or a wife. Or they might be single and they hang out with their friends. And he likes playing pool. And he likes drinking whiskey. And why not tweet about those things? Because then people can relate to you. If you're a football supporter that does tax, now you can get the Arsenal or the Manchester United guys on, then they see your tweets. It makes you more reachable and accessible to everyone. And so that's where that's why I mix food and tax so often.
Salamanca has always said that two opposing ideas can reside in one individual. You can have believe in something else and still believe in something totally different and unrelated. That's
True.
deep.
That's not deep. No one said anything. No one even,
No, everyone was
No,
pausing to digest what I just said.
no, like, but I think, yeah, Andre, I think, I think you've taken a very interesting way to discuss the subject matter of taxes as well. YouTube, why that journey? I've seen also some interviews where you're like your grandfather was very influential just in your passion for finance. So maybe, I don't know if that's two questions, but like, granddad's influence and how you end up on YouTube. Doing what you're doing.
So, I mean, I grew up with my granddad, and my granddad used to be in the banking industry, and he tried to instill various personal finance stuff in me, which I didn't take it to heart that much, and as I grew up, and then I moved to Cape Town, and then unfortunately my grandfather passed, and then I decided, hey, he's not looking anymore, so then let me emulate what he did. How did he run his finances when I didn't listen to him? Now I listen to him. Now that he's not there anymore. So and I'm as passionate as he was about personal finance and about finance. So that was my grandfather's influence on that. The YouTube channel, I decided, and this is a gripe. So if you'll allow me to gripe, I'll gripe. Why do I, one small fry who's been working in tax for a few years, one person with the smallest of budgets, using my cell phone on a stand, on not even a camera stand, on a boxes that's topped onto each other, trying to make YouTube videos about tax? Why am I doing that? And the second question is, PwC, KPMG, Deloitte's, they've got the biggest budgets. They can do media things bigger than I can do. They can create a YouTube channel educating the country about tax. Why not them? Why me? And so I decided, let that be me. Because they're not doing it.
Tax, for some reason, it's something that I believe has never been, it's so important that people don't give it the credit and importance it deserves. How do you believe, from a holistic perspective for the country, how important is tax?
Okay, so if you were to walk out on the street and nobody pays their taxes, number one, the street lights won't be on. Number two, you can't go to a government hospital. Number three, no police service. Number four, no government schools. So you've got the whole police system, the education system, the infrastructure of ESCOM. I'm not going to talk about SAA. Okay? You've got all those things that depend on the on us citizens paying our taxes.
Including artists.
Including artists.
Yeah. Including you, Teeth.
Shout out to artists who paying their taxes. Shout out.
Far and few in between.
Shout out to all those who get away with it.
No. Finance for Hippies does not encourage any of tax avoidance activities.
Tax evasion, not avoidance. Yeah.
Avoidance
I encourage avoidance, but not evasion.
Correct.
So if you were to take away all the South African taxpayers, you end up with a country that is financially that's financially ill, sick, and it cannot survive.
Andre, I don't know why, bro, but like he's talking in bars. You end up with a country that's ill, sick. Andre, we recorded music. What we did first season was actually invite people to get on our mixtape because we'd rap. So you'd had all these finance industry people who would be in our mixtape rapping with us. But like, yo, man, Andre, I don't know how we'll do it, man. We need to tie down the deal. But you've got quotes, man. You've got quotes.
No, heavy quotes.
Yeah.
So
maybe just give the breakdown again then of how we're gonna be running through the episode.
So this is the episode. By the time you artists and everyone else listening out there, the name of the show is Tax 101. We're going to break it down in terms of levels. We're going to look at the impact that Andre has already mentioned into the country. We're going to look at institutions which are part of the the lifeline of the country, businesses that give us jobs, that make money, how they really manage their taxes. We're going to look at the individuals. This is you and me. And then we're going to be a bit more fine-tuned and look at the artists specifically. This is Teeth. And how tax impacts their lives.
Yeah. So to break it down in simpler English, and from how I had to deal with this, a nice way that we had to look at, as I said, Ndaki forced me to check out the budget speech. It was traumatizing, so we're gonna maybe just look at that, maybe some questions I had with regards to that. And then we're going to look at businesses, company taxes, certain questions that I had with regards to that. I apologize to our listeners. Actually, I don't apologize to our listeners. Why am I apologizing? But like some of the questions I may ask, might be disturbing, but there are concerns that I have. And then, we're going to look at companies. Then we're going to look at individuals.
For sure.
Then we're going to look at, the relativeness to artists. So stick around for this episode. Are we doing an ad break now?
No, we're not.
Jesus, bro, I did that last episode.
Funders yet.
Which podcast do you listen to where they say like the ad break is coming and
then there's no ad break?
Go.
Teeth. Do you go out of your way? This is usually when this happens, everyone knows it's happening.
Okay.
The budget speech.
Yeah.
Do you or your circle of friends really look out for budget speeches?
I can't speak for my circle of friends, but I'll need to be blatantly honest with you. This year was the first year I watched the budget speech. Please can we have that? Because that's like, this is the first year I watched the budget speech. I've got friends who are financially savvy. I'm not going to lie to you and say that within mates of mine who are creatives, when there's a budget speech, we like all on the phone and we're kind of just discuss. That's never happened before. I don't think it's ever been a conversation where we're like, the budget speech just dropped, like it's hot. And I won't lie, man, I struggled to not fall asleep during that thing. I also realized that I might not be a fan of this Tito Mboweni guy, but I'll explain why as well. But yeah, that's what's up. I don't know, Andre, your circle of friends, this is of you guys, it's probably
it's standard, Andre. I'm sure you would
Ndaki was very excited about the budget speech.
Yeah,
Sure.
I can tell. No, in the previous company I worked at, there was actually they kept on they kept on playing the radio, and so the budget speech they would actually play it to the company when it's on. This year it was a bit different. I caught a lot of it on Twitter, but I've got all the updates. I bought the Business Week. To actually read through it and have a see of what the other people also say, the real experts, what they say about the budget speech, and so that's why
it's
I get
legal to do that. It's legal to force people to listen to the speech.
some companies will.
Jesus, that is quite amazing. That is actually quite amazing. Yeah, but yeah, it was
for your information, you have really finance, right?
Yeah.
And then within finance, you have pockets of speciality, right?
Yeah.
Tax is one specialized field. I handle a different, I'm a treasurer. I handle a different field of expertise, right? I deal with money, FX risk, and so forth. Andre handles a different specialized, very specialized type of field. To get there, right, it's either you had intentions of going right through to that path, right? Or maybe you flowed into that path, fortunately. And for your information, this is a very good position to be in. Tax and death, it's one thing that are guaranteed. Yeah. So you best believe Andre is guaranteed to always have a job, to be always successful. How did you find yourself in this good position?
Well, the road wasn't as easy as people normally think it is. I had a rough upbringing, but I finished high school, and then I decided to study through UNISA. I couldn't afford to go to study at university, like a Stellenbosch or what's the other one? Potchefstroom, or those places. Studied through UNISA, and I actually botched my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
I didn't finish my bachelor's degree, but I worked in the industry for all the time. Yeah. And so after 6 years, I was of the 6 years in the industry, I was allowed to study a high diploma in taxation
For sure.
because of
Dip.
recognized prior learning.
Yeah.
And so
That gets so excited, right?
that is, and so that is
Because
where,
I actually wanted to do an HDIP at one point.
that is where my journey started. But even so, I worked for 4 years, and then I had a manager who suggested, "Why don't you study tax?" And so I listened to her advice. Then a guy who was he was the head of tax for Africa at RSM, and he said, "Go for it."
Yeah.
And so I went for it, and after that influence, it's been 6 years that I've been basically focused like a bullseye
Yeah.
on becoming really good at tax, but good at tax from a legal perspective, but also from the perspective of the individual.
Okay. So, within tax, now I'm giving you the nuggets now. Within tax, there's pockets where money lies.
Yeah.
Where there's good money.
Yeah.
There's one tax where there's wealth management, right? That's where now you do taxes for the rich and famous.
All right.
That's where the big bucks are.
That's what's up, that's what's up.
That's where you get to be.
That sounds like my kind of tax.
But I'm sure that will require some speciality in the field and so forth. You've never wanted to hone into a specific speciality of tax.
So I'm now considered a senior tax consultant, and so my
Fire.
speciality is consulting.
Yeah.
If you've got questions, I might have the answers,
For
or I'll try my best to get the right answer for you. And so my job and my speciality is trying to help people pay less tax in a legal way.
For sure.
Whether it is for a company, international company, local company, individual, the smallest fry on the street, doesn't matter.
For sure. Finance for Hippies brings you experts in the field.
That's
This
what's
is
up.
what
That's
we
what's
do.
up. Okay. It's our ad break now.
Ad
It's
break.
our ad break now. Let's do this ad break, and then we're gonna get some reactions. We're gonna break down this budget speech.
For sure.
We're gonna run through this budget speech.
I own everything here. This is my hood. Ndagi, Dan Salaman. All these taxes moving here.
What's up? Yo, finance for hippies, street culture, who we got. No one cares what that he has to say, man.
Let's just put it into perspective. It's fry pan, Bumelelo. Streets know me as fry pan though. It's not finance for hippies anymore. It's fry pan for hippies.
War against broke, we fight no white flag.
All right, cool. So we're back. So we're gonna touch down now on this budget speech, and obviously just the implications of this. We're gonna obviously round it up a bit to have a bit of a tax conversation on it as well. And yeah, I guess whatever my experience was on this thing, on this budget speech, and I'll break down some questions I'd have for both of you guys probably.
For sure.
As well, right? Yeah. I think. Probably the first thing now, these are questions that I had. I listened to Tito Mboweni, right? Yo, man, I thought, Tito Mboweni, do you know the song Tito Mboweni? There's a hot song called Tito Mboweni. Yo, and I was like, yo, that dude, I never knew what the big deal was about him, but then I realized, oh, he's got money, he's got money, he's the money guy. So there was a big song about him, but yeah, he's obviously our budget dude. And I listened to him, and I think before I delve deep into the questions I had, my first question I even had whilst this trauma of watching the budget speed was, like, who came up with this thing of taxing people? Dude, like, what like, just that, like, who came up with that? Did you know? A guy who just sat up and was like, actually, this is a smart thing to do. I can get money from absolutely everyone. What's just like the history of those politics?
I don't know whether you want to.
No, I don't want this answer. I don't want this answer.
I don't know if the answer. It's
Okay.
like goes back,
Yeah.
but it probably comes from kings. Like a king most likely somewhere started really saying, for me to live lavishly, these guys need to pay me some money out of the land. This is my land. If I was king, I would say, I give you land, you farm, you give me a portion of it. So
Like a drug dealer. That's what drug dealers do, dog.
Extortion.
That's what the mafia did. The mafia
You pay taxes.
I was watching this guy give us a budget speech. Actually, why is this guy here? Who even? Okay, Andre?
Yeah, I mean, if you, I mean, I didn't do a large study on the history of tax, but if you do go back, a lot of countries did have a system where there is, like you said, you've got the kings and queens, and then you've got the how can I say, let's call them the clergy or
The noblemen.
the noblemen, which is like the second level, and then you've got
That
the
you would
third
be
level, which is
somewhere
like
around the noblemen,
where the majority of people sit, and then. You know, they've decided, look, this is now our country.
Yeah.
And so back then you didn't have to run, you know, things like infrastructure as much as they did. But they thought it might be a good idea to, yes, like Teeth rightly said, it was a way to, you know, let's bring in more wealth for the house.
Yeah.
But I think, obviously, at some point, it became necessary for the country to continue running. A lot of countries was in war. I mean, the whole world has been in war since forever, you know. But what happens when people go off to war? The country still has to survive.
Sure.
And so that for me is really the benefit back then of taxes, because then the funding of taxes actually helped people, and also it was also used to fund the war, because wars are really
war
expensive.
As well. Yeah, there was an actual war tax.
And so that is basically what I think is the origin. Unfortunately, I didn't study the history of tax, but that is where tax.
All right.
It's not like you want to blame someone for studying
People are stressed out. People are stressed out by this thing, man. So it's important for me to know. And then before I get to my dislike of Mr. Mboweni, who I'm sure is a very nice gentleman, but he has a very tough job to do. Do the government? Who taxes the government?
Technically, the people would tax the government in the back end.
What?
So,
do the government pay taxes?
no.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, doesn't government salaries have pay as you earn on them?
Yeah, they do.
And they pay
The
VAT?
Provident fund.
And they pay VAT?
Yeah.
So they do pay some taxes.
All right.
Oh, that's the way I see it. Because if you get a salary, you're gonna pay tax.
Yeah.
Nah, man. But this guy, I think this.
So it's actually a very smart. So you pay tax to the government, it hires someone and pays them using their money, and then taxes them on the money that they tax.
That's hard.
It's a beautiful scheme.
It's a vicious circle of taxes.
Okay, all right. So no, you see, I thought the government. That's hard. I could mess with that. That's hard. That's cool, man. That's cool. So I think my issues, man. This Mboweni guy, man. I'm listening to him. So he's talking through this budget speech. This guy wants everyone to fly economy. He's got issues with the wasteful expenditure, which we are big fans of here at Finance for Hippies. He says things like "learn to save during good times." I mean, who says that, bro? Learn to save during good times.
I say that.
Learn to save during good times. You need to be hot. During good times, you're spending as much money as possible. I just some issues with his philosophies. And then he taxes everything that's good, except the sorghum beer. I appreciated that. But otherwise, he's taxing
Sorghum
everything.
beer.
Yeah, he doesn't tax it. He says the taxes on sorghum beer weren't going up.
Sorghum beer is like chibuku.
That's what's up. And I respect that. Why would he do that though? Like I saw he taxes everything that's good. He was taxing cigarettes, beers, everything was like going up. But like sorghum beer was like, nah, the taxes aren't going up on that. So I respected that. I gave him a shout out for that. I don't know why though. What would be? Is there a play for that? Why would he be doing that?
To tax sin taxes.
Yes, sin taxes. So that's
what it's called.
But he
the
left
tax on
sorghum
cigarettes.
beer though. He was like, nah,
Don't know why
he's gonna leave. What's this stuff Ndaki drinks? What is it? Chibugu.
Ndaki sips on chibugu.
Chibugu.
The finest sorghum beer out there.
So he didn't say that he's not. I forgot what they said. He's not taxing it or taxes on it aren't going up. But why would?
Yeah, but just on sin taxes. Why would you have taxes on sin products?
Well, if you think about it, is there any health benefits to smoking cigarettes?
He even taxing hubbly bubblies now, dog.
Really?
Yes, he said it. He's like hubbly bubblies are gonna be taxed.
The chicks in Pretoria
Come on,
aren't going to be happy about
please
So
explain.
that's my first point on cigarettes.
Okay.
So you know, it depends on how much influence the government. Each government has more or less influence depending on the country.
Yeah.
But South Africa is a mixed economy, so there is a fair amount of government influence on what society does.
Yeah.
And so the reason for the tax on smoking is to encourage people to smoke less. Also, which explains the tax on alcohol, because I mean, alcoholism is a problem. I mean, I unfortunately, of my upbringing, I had two spells of two persons who ruined the family I grew up in initially because of alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sin taxes. I mean, people, you know, you want to enjoy your wine without having to pay, you know, all of a sudden 10 rand more for it.
No, for sure.
But same with sugar tax. You know, when sugar tax was introduced. After many studies, they realized that sugar is really bad, and at the addiction level, it's more addictive than cocaine.
Correct.
Okay,
Don't
so that's why you have.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Sugar's what?
No, it fires up your
They took
endorphins
They
real
took
good.
rats. They took rats. They did a study on rats.
Like snitches, like in the streets we call rats snitches. So they took snitches.
And they fed the rat cocaine, and they fed the rat sugar, and the rat went after the sugar more than it did after the cocaine.
Fires up your brain real good, huh?
Okay, that's
Very
hardcore.
Yeah,
that's hardcore.
Yeah. A colleague of mine. So, if you think sin taxes are heavy in South Africa.
So just quickly, does sugar count as sin tax as well? Is it there or?
No, I think they categorize it maybe differently.
Maybe
than
differently,
sin
yeah.
taxes,
All right, cool.
A colleague of mine mentioned that if you think it's bad in South Africa, he's an expat. In Europe, he's from France. Cigarettes cost so much that it's cheaper for you to fly from France to Italy and buy a carton of cigarettes and come back to France than buying the actual carton of cigarettes. That's why you see, I don't know if you noticed that bottle stores close around 1-ish on Sundays.
Yeah.
So government takes a responsibility to contain certain behaviors of the population that really don't contribute to the economy.
Oh wow.
For sure.
Okay.
Bars.
Jeez. I'm a bit stunned.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's quite
Andre,
hectic. That's quite hectic.
Everyone was a bit fearful about VAT popping up again.
Yeah.
Were you guys happy to see it being constant?
I've told a few people that I would have put money on it not going up.
Yeah.
You know,
So VAT just went up.
No, it didn't.
Okay. So you got.
Clearly, you didn't read that speech quite well.
Okay.
It didn't.
Just
No, it
pose your
didn't go
question again, please.
So VAT went up 1 or 2
years ago.
from 14
Okay.
to 15%.
to 15%.
Yeah.
There was speculation that it might just come up again.
Okay, there was speculation in the finance.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean the
creative
the-
industry,
the-
no one was sitting and speculating that the VAT
the
is going
majority
up.
of the economists thought that VAT would go up.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it didn't, fortunately.
Yeah, it didn't.
Which is saves the general population quite a bit of money because VAT is charged mostly on.
Okay, we're getting to VAT. We're getting to VAT. So do you wanna because I've
Jump
got
in.
all kinds of issues with VAT.
Jump in. What's
This
your
is-
issues with
this is-
VAT?
Just I can maybe use a practical example that and I'm talking now a real business problem that I had, and so obviously I understand. I don't know. I guess I've got a minimal understanding of it, but me as like a business person had an opportunity where, as a creative business person, so I had an opportunity where there was going to be lots of money put into the business that I run, right? Over a 6 month project. And there was like lots of numbers, you know, very, very TeethSwag friendly zeros that were on there. But the challenge was that when I tried to seal this deal, let's put the number. Let's say there was like $1 million, right? I've never dealt with those kind of numbers, right? But this is the kind of things that are on the table, like over 6 to 12 months or whatever. And now I was kind of being told that, but in order to be able, I'm now in a position where someone says, I'm going to give you this amount of money to do the work you need to do, but now you have to register for VAT. I was just like, okay, cool. What the hell does that mean? What are you talking about? Like, I can do this work. I can do the job. Now you're telling me I must register for VAT. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I start stressing out about the fact that my business has to register for VAT now in order to get $1 million. And then I start being told by another person, it's like, no, you shouldn't register for VAT, because once you register for VAT, you're going to start paying VAT forever. Whether right now you're getting $1 million, but when you don't get $1 million, you're still going to have to pay the same amount of VAT. Now, this is how I understood the problem that I had. I don't know if hopefully it makes sense to you, but that's the first time I really had to deal with, like, knowing that I have to understand what the hell value-added taxes and why the hell I had to deal with that problem. And a long story short, I ended up not getting that $1 million, but because I couldn't actually figure out, I was like being run around to like a whole lot of places, so I didn't understand like what is actually going on here, you know? What's the play?
So it sounds like we're now shifting from the economy to an institutional level.
Business level.
Business level.
Yeah. Okay.
Why would an institution need to be VAT registered?
Yeah, so I think from the outset, the contract was valued at R1 million. Now, what that means is it's compulsory to register for VAT at the R1 million point.
Okay.
Okay, so it's compulsory. Government says you must register for VAT when you've reached $1 million turnover. Okay. So that's the first thing. Okay. And the second thing is, if you were to do contracts with big businesses and whatnot, and you want to get you want to seal the deal, they often want you to be VAT registered, because that means that they can claim the VAT from you. If you are providing a service, they can claim that VAT from SARS. They can put in input taxes.
Okay, so when you say if I'm providing a service, I'm saying this will cost me $50,000. And I say, I don't know, with VAT it will cost me $55,000.
Okay.
They can claim that $5,000.
They can claim that $5,000 against their VAT that they must pay.
Okay, that's hot.
Does that make sense?
That makes full sense.
If you are
that's
below
hot.
1 million, if you are below 1 million, you don't need to register for VAT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So, but now this thing of so if you below, what's the thing of that? If you get a job that's worth $1 million, but then afterwards you don't get, why do you have to pay it forever? Because that's the impression that I got, and I was informed the wrong way. It's like once you've registered, you have to always pay VAT or something like that.
That's a misconception, because you can deregister for VAT if you're under the $1 million mark again.
So the
next year. So let's look at 2021 tax year. So we're about to enter the 2021 tax year, and you do the $1 million, right? Okay. Now you register for VAT. Next year, your deals might only work you out to earn you $300K. Okay. You can deregister for VAT.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
One of the reasons why
this is the mentor person who told me this stuff. I'm very serious with you.
No,
continue.
I'm willing to be your mentor.
Mentors in the township are difficult, man. Hey.
One of the issues with VAT is really the administration behind it. Why you'd really not want to push
for your business
to be VAT registered is that from an administrative perspective, I would say it's for an individual business is quite heavy.
It's very expensive.
It's very heavy because you'll correct me, there's periodically you have to really either do your VAT calculation. It's either you submit and then they do the thing. Inform us a bit.
So the average VAT registered company or individual would need to file then every 2 months VAT returns in addition to your income tax returns that you have to file.
No, that sounds annoying.
And then, if you don't have a clue about doing your VAT, now you have to appoint a bookkeeper or an accountant. So that's an additional cost. Yeah. And then that bookkeeper, you better hope, you better pray that person knows what they're doing. Because a mistake can cost you even more taxes.
Is this what? Yo, look, I've got a list of of people. So that's why people are getting charged for their taxes.
Yeah, it's an issue.
No,
Well,
did you hear the way he said pray?
Yeah. So let's actually go into this issue, right? Where one gets their tax advice from. It's very important. Who are actually the true people? Is there a certification that the government announced that the Stig is now a tax practitioner? The lady is now a tax practitioner. Who is actually allowed to give tax advice? Because the dudes in the hood, they after sipping some 1 liter quarts, they're giving tax advices, and then.
And you trust this guy because he's a clerk at SARS. He's a clerk at SARS. So he's gonna tell you.
Who would you recommend you take a tax advice from? I think that's a fair question. Who would you recommend an individual can take tax advice from, and who would you stay away from?
I think from a legislative standpoint, the first thing is that they would need to be registered as a tax practitioner. That's obvious. And tax practitioners are registered usually with, and they must be registered with a corporate body. So whether it is IRBA, like the auditors, whether it's SITE, like the tax practitioners, whether it's SIPA, the professional accountants, SICA, the chartered accountants. If you're registered with them, you can be a tax practitioner.
Sorry. So are there lots of these
Yes, corporate bodies, and if you belong to it, you can register as a tax practitioner.
So these because you're from the hood, it would be gangs. So
Yeah.
It would be the Bloods, the Crips, the 7-Elevens, all those.
So you have to belong to them first before you can be a tax
Would it
practitioner.
be too much to even ask you to even give us a list of those places, or there's
I
just a lot?
can.
There's quite a few.
It's a list. It's
Yeah.
about 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could belong to that body, that gang.
Validated one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they give you street cred to give you tax advice.
Okay, cool.
But
So
that's
that's
just-
the first one. Because Ndaki could then tell me, I'm registered.
But that's
that's number one.
That's number one. Now I'm going to give you 3 levels because people only look at number 1.
Andre, you're hot
Number
right
2.
now. Let's go.
How much experience do you have? What type of clientele do you deal with? Do you deal with artists? Do you deal with people who run rental companies?
Yeah.
Do you deal with people who run farms? What is your exposure of the experience that you have?
Expertise.
Right? What's your expertise? That's number 2. But number 3 is for me the most important. The person who gives you advice, whether it is tax advice, whether it is life advice, whether it's financial advice, whether it is marital advice, you want to make sure that they have the heart of a teacher. When you sit down with them, you want to walk away knowing more than what you walked in with.
This is what I am to TeethSwag in his life. Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah.
That is what you want.
The one episode where
You want a tax practitioner who will sit down with you and will be patient enough with you, looking at your scenario and being able to talk to you in a way that makes you understand your position as a tax person better and be able to do the work in their company or however they do it.
All right. So,
And that goes for any advisor.
Yeah. On that important note, we're going to take a slight break. When we come back, we're going to look at more questions around the company taxes. Things like why companies, pay the heavy rates that they do compared to individuals and so forth.
It's the Almost Perfect Podcast.
Hey, it's Bob Perfect here from the Almost Perfect Podcast, a celebration of fuck-ups, failures, and falling flat on your face. It is a podcast that believes you can learn from experience, but that experience doesn't have to be your own. So come join me every single Friday as I chat to a different creative type. But basically, we chat to various people in the creative industry about how they got to where they are. So if you're trying to get some tips and tricks, or you just like to know that, hey, there's someone out there who is doing it the same way you are, if you want to feel a little less alone in your creative journey, come check it out. It's almostperfect.co.za. Let's check out the next episode of Finance for Hippies.
Hi, I am Minunkulu Moi. I am a Joburg-based visual artist, printmaker, as well as a museum maker. So I do publication and artist books in the form of zines under my alias Alphabet Zoo, under Alphabet Zoo platform. Right now I'm working from DJI, Deja Khafaru's studio, which is located at Victoria Yards in Veteran. My work is about social political ideas, specifically specifically in colonialism. I've got an ongoing body of work. To see more about that, you can check me on my socials, which on Facebook I am Minonkulu Boy, on Twitter I am at Minonkulu, and on Instagram I am at Minonkulu.
Why would they bring up VAT? For what purpose?
Up from 15 to 16.
Yeah, 15 to 16, yeah.
Yeah. You asking specific? Sorry, I didn't get the question there.
So why would the government really want to bring it up?
Right.
What problems do they have, really? What are they going to use that 1% for when VAT moves from 15 to 16?
So VAT is, okay, what do you think has VAT on here?
That wine that we're drinking has VAT.
Everything.
That the orange balaclava.
No, that balaclava is custom made.
Custom is VAT.
Okay.
Almost everything that you buy has VAT on.
Good
Value
money.
added tax.
So now it used to be 14%. Now they raised it to 15%, and now they had the discussion whether it's worth it raising it to 16%. The reason why the increase on VAT is such a scare is because the people in let's call them the 0.5% of South Africans, the 1% of South Africans, VAT increase, they can afford it, right? But VAT hits the poorest the hardest.
Yeah.
Because then they have to pay VAT on the things that they buy. And they don't just buy the zero-rated items, like, your brown bread, and there's a laundry list of things that you can buy that's zero-rated. But they also have to then pay 16%. And that would have been a problem. And also raising that from 14 to 15%, it took quite a long time. I can't remember how many years it took to raise it to 15. And then only to wait 2 years to raise it to 16%. That would be an unprecedented move.
Burden. It would
that would have been a bad chess move.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that the people who are earning less would have had to pay more.
They would have felt it more in their pockets.
They would have felt it more because they are paying. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I get it. I wish I could explain it, but I get it. Yeah, I get it. That's all. But I think that leads up to maybe the last thing I wanted to wrap up just on this VAT thing. I had explained to Ndaki before the show where I'd read this book. And it's like the intro book. I feel like I've grown so much from quoting it. But anyway, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, right? And I found it as an intro level into understanding everything. I think it's really dope. But there was this whole thing where the guy who wrote the book, he seemed to very much argue a lot for this thing of saying that like wealthy people should be allowed to not pay taxes. Or sorry, not be allowed, but like he was almost saying that you should want to be in a position where you are not paying you're not paying as much taxes as somebody who earns less. And he makes quite a strong case for that because he's like and he was also saying that like the government actually, it's almost like the government wants more wealthy people, and there's a reason they make them pay lower taxes or something like that.
Sounds like we're now moving from institutional tax to individual tax. The author is referring to is Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Come to the show, Kiyosaki. We're calling you out, G.
Yeah.
Come
Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He made mad money off the book. I think he's still riding off that wave. He was in South Africa 1 or 2 years ago, in Boksburg as well. I didn't attend that show, but he does advocate the playing of the tax game. How would you, as Teeth said, play the tax game as an individual?
Let me just go for a second to digress, to go back to company tax for a while.
Yeah, sure.
So we've spoken about VAT, but companies are on a different tax rate, 28%.
For sure.
So most companies pay 28%. And they were going to, TeethSwag, when he thought about it, they had a discussion before the budget speech of maybe dropping company tax. So I want to touch on that very quickly.
Go for it.
Dropping company tax, what do you think might the idea behind that be? Lowering company tax by, let's say, 1 or 2%.
I don't know.
Well, go for it, Teeth. 'Cause this is your show. Go for it.
I don't know. You'd start more businesses. I don't know. That's my assumption. If they lowered tax for a company, you'd want to, I don't know, start more companies and make more
Investment.
Yeah.
Improve investments. Yeah.
What do you mean investment?
Well, they're taxing you less. That means you have more money available. Then you can put down money.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's actually what I was trying to say, but I didn't say it.
We're synchronized.
Okay, cool. That's maybe one thing I would think. Yeah, you've got more money to invest in things.
For sure. With the current state of the economy, which is not doing so well, tax savings will avoid things like cut costing, restructurings, retrenchments, which are a serious issue. They've been reoccurring more and more often. Like, I know this is not your field, Teeth, but in the economy, we're getting hit hard.
So to answer his question, those would be are those the kind of benefits from reducing company tax?
100%, because if I'm going to pay, if I'm in a position, okay, I want to start a company, but I have to pay 28% tax. But now, after Bueni's speech, maybe 26%, hey, that's a 2% I can do a bit more with. I could maybe employ one more person. I could maybe buy more stock.
Okay.
So I can do more things in that regard.
Okay. So now tying that to the
Kiyosaki.
Is that his kind of logic then, based on maybe what I explained?
I think I'm personally not a fan of Kiyosaki.
Dope.
Why?
He has a couple of opinions around personal finance, which seems to me like he's downplaying the value of the employee.
Can you expand that a bit more?
Because you see, from my side, I don't know nothing. And when I read his book, I was like, that's the first time I read a book about money. I was like, oh, I don't know nothing about money. I mean, it validated that, but it was the first time I was like, at least to explain certain principles. Where I was like,
yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay, this is facts. This is not opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Robert Kiyosaki's opinions are not facts, they are opinion.
Okay.
Robert Kiyosaki filed for bankruptcy a couple of years ago.
Quite correct.
So, he's not the god of how you should manage your finances.
Yeah.
He had pretty decent knowledge. It's from the book. It seemed like he had a decent teacher. But that's one lesson that Finance for Hippies wants to really give out there. There's many ways, philosophies of managing your finances. There's really no one true golden rule. There's some good rules that you need to follow at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, the teachers can bump into the problems with the rules at the end of the day. And this is what happens to Robert. But tell me, what did you disagree with Robert?
My biggest disagreement with Robert is that very thing, is he downplays the value of an employee. In his book, it seems like he is saying, because he draws that beautiful 4-quadrant thing.
For sure. Yeah. Cash flow.
That he's got employees, he's got the self-employed, he's got the businesses, he's got the investors. He wants people to move from the employee side, from E to I.
Yeah.
Right?
Investor.
And he is down by working 40 years in the same 9 to 5, earning this and time and money and. Have you ever gone to a hospital where there's no doctors? Where there's no nursing staff? You go to a spa, there's nobody at the tills.
A gallery with no art.
100%.
Yeah.
You go to a taxi rank, there's no taxis. Because there's just owners.
Yeah.
There's just investors.
Yeah.
We need employees.
For sure.
I'm happy to be an employee. It's okay. He will be the last person to say it's okay to be an employee. That's what I don't like.
As an American would put it, many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, I fully agree with you. There's nothing wrong with being an employee. We're not all built to be entrepreneurs, to be investors. I've bumped into a whole lot of people who are proud to be company men. The company has taken care of them. The company has given them good benefits. They're able to live a dignified and very prosperous and wealthy life. You can do well as an employee.
Yeah.
You can do very well as an employee. And there's no shame that you would prefer to be an employee than an entrepreneur. It's all about preference and what you feel like doing to be at the end of the day.
But to latch on to your question about what he said about paying taxes, a wealthy paying, they should be able to pay less tax depending on their scenario. The thing what I think is available to people who are wealthy versus people who are not is people who are wealthy can often afford tax practitioners, tax consultants who knows more loopholes than the average tax guy does. And so they are able to do more tax avoidance compared to you just filing your tax return as a standard employee. Because a standard employee do not have the same loopholes as a big investor or a company with a large company structure and the way they can manage their taxes. Like my main job, I would say that's my main job. Is as a senior tax consultant, I would look at a family and they have 4 companies. Then there is the trust, but they have kids. And so then instead of the parents paying all the tax, the money would go to the trust and then flow to the kids.
For sure.
And so that's how you split the tax amongst the kids and you basically pay less tax.
Do trusts pay less tax?
Trusts pay horrible taxes. That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
So just to explain.
I'm lost right now, Jens.
No, this is. Yeah,
but I hope the viewer will.
I'll break it down to you.
Break it down.
Have you bumped into artists where they have mad money?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting money.
Yeah.
If their parents arranged their affairs properly, most likely they were getting that money not from their parents, from a trust.
Okay.
Trust fund babies. That's where the word. That's where
now
that
he's
wording
going to
comes
break
from.
down how is it tax efficient to go through a trust.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So just for the listeners, I'm holding my arm and hanging my hand.
We're recording it.
Oh, right. For those who's only listening, my hand, the body of my hand, would be the trust. And the blood that flows down to my fingers are the beneficiaries, the people earning from the trust.
Yeah.
If you only tax the trust, you see that this hand is big, so it gets big tax. 45% tax if it's taxed in a trust. 45%.
Okay.
Right? Now you distribute it amongst the individuals. Let's say you distribute interest and you distribute 100,000. This one has the 20,300, the 23,800 rebate. This one has the 23,800 rebate. This one has the 23,800 rebate. This one has the rebate. None of them pay the tax. The trust doesn't pay the tax. So instead of the trust paying 45,000 Rand of income tax on the interest that it earned, it distributes the 100,000 Rand to all the individuals and paying no tax.
Boss.
Finally, he has done it again.
That is hard.
Why haven't black
Now,
people
if that's not a
started
tax
trusts
oil
yet?
painting, I don't know what is.
What? That's bars. That's hard. So it's okay. That's hard.
Hey, man. That's a hookup right there.
You need to be careful. This guy's gonna steal your references. He's gonna take this and use this
Next
on like
episode, I'll be
music
like,
tracks.
do you see this
Do you see
hand?
that? He's probably gonna have a hand on his cover art for his mixtape. He's gonna be like, that's crazy.
What I'm getting here is that, in your professional opinion, compared to the rest of the world, how many loopholes are there in the South African tax system that one can take advantage of to be in a much better tax position? Let's say, how much is the average tax rate of an individual that they pay? We said company is 28, an individual is...
Individual is between 18 and 45%.
If you were to work the system, how much can Ndaki push it down to? If I was South African, if I was American, do you think I would push it down even further?
That's very hard for me to say.
Yeah.
Because each country has their own tax system, and if you work in South Africa, you're gonna learn the tax system.
Yeah.
But one thing I can say is there are ways, and there are, especially with trusts, number one, and for artists, we're gonna touch on that a bit later. But there's definitely savings for artists there as well. But if you have a family and you have the capacity to set up things like a trust, where you can distribute your funds to your kids or things like that, and they are the rightful beneficiaries of that money, then you can manage your taxes. Like there was a famous judge, I can't remember his surname, who said a taxpayer may manage his or her affairs within the ambit of a law, so as not to break the law, but to be within the ambit of a law and pay less tax.
For sure.
And so that is why we are allowed to manage our taxes, to use what is in a law within the arms of a law, and stay within them, but pay less tax. The one individual, single, unmarried, no kids, has got less loopholes than a person who is married with kids and a trust, for example.
Donald Trump would agree with you.
That's deep.
Donald would agree with you.
But I actually want to ask in terms of, I'm not sure whether this is individual or a business person, but maybe I'm thinking from a case of like you're a freelancer. So either you, I'm putting a scenario of either you are self-employed, you have your own business, or you work 9 to 5 and then you make money on the side, right? I'm trying to understand. There are these three concepts that confuse me a lot, in terms of there's a bookkeeper, there's an accountant, and there's a tax practitioner. I've got a little business. I don't know. I make music, and either I'm employed 9 to 5 and I make music, but I've got a little business on the side, or I design websites and I make money on the side, right? Obviously, I need to file taxes for that business. Let's say it's doing quite well, or I want to file my taxes for that business. As I said, I've got a bookkeeper, I've got an accountant, and I've got a tax practitioner. Who do I talk to help me file my taxes? Between those three people, because I get confused by that.
So I think let's go with definitions quickly, because definitions are important.
Okay, bars.
So if you understand what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, and we're on the same wavelength.
Okay.
A bookkeeper is responsible for the day-to-day or the month-to-month managing of what is happening in your books.
Okay.
Balancing the books.
Okay.
Then you have the accountant. The accountant is responsible to set up financial statements, to do those last journal entries, to make sure that everything is clean before it goes to SARS.
Okay.
And then finally, you have the last person, the tax practitioner, who is responsible to file the tax return, reduce the taxes where they can, and and then. But sometimes you have a tax practitioner that is also an accountant.
Yeah, I can understand.
But so that's what you have there. But let's go with the individual who does not have a registered company, but they are trading as a sole proprietor.
Yeah.
That's the definition.
Self-employed. Right?
Yeah, the self-employed, but now you have an RP5 as well.
Okay.
So that's your employment income.
Okay.
So my general shtick on that is just get a bookkeeper who can draw up the books from bank statements for the year, submit it to the tax practitioner, and they submit it to SARS.
So you say the bookkeeper submits it to the tax practitioner. Or
sends it to the tax practitioner.
So if you are in business, you should have some kind of relationship with the tax practitioner, right?
With your tax practitioner and the bookkeeper, because the bookkeeper is going to understand, but what does this entry mean in your bank statement? And then the tax practitioner is going to be the one at the end of the day who will have a discussion with you. Okay, what's happening next year? Okay, this is what happened this year. Should you register for VAT? What is your responsibility in terms of provisional tax? Which
Let me put it in perspective.
Okay.
The bookkeeper would pull out your receipt to the strip club, right?
Okay, all right.
And then says, this is an invoice to the strip club.
All right.
The tax practitioner would say,
That's
no,
not deductible.
It's not deductible. Tipping strip clubs is not deductible. Exactly. So it's entertainment cost, but is it deductible? Things like that.
So about how many times then are you? Because I've never worked with a tax practitioner, and I'm being honest, I've never worked with them. I'm literally recently about to start working with a bookkeeper. You know, so about how many times though then should? Because I know your bookkeeper at least on a monthly basis you should be having a. They're keeping a track of your daily expenditure and what's it called. But with the tax practitioner, how is that relationship between a small business and a tax practitioner?
Yeah.
How many times am I seeing this guy?
So let's say you and I were to start a tax practitioner client relationship.
Right.
I'll say let's meet up for an initial meeting.
Okay.
The initial meeting for me is to understand what is your picture.
Okay.
Where are you going? What is your past? What are you doing now?
Okay.
Okay, that's the first meeting.
Okay.
Maybe a second meeting is
Is that
necessary.
a free consultation or I got a budget?
Got it, yeah.
Okay.
And take out
Meeting one.
the Yoko pad
You're
right
meeting
there.
one on the house. Okay.
Right?
Cool. All right.
That's the first one.
I'm trying to make a milli. That's what I tell you. I'm trying to make a milli. Okay, cool. Let's go.
Yeah. Then after that, usually the communication is a phone call.
Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna do your tax. I've got the things from the bookkeeper, and I'm gonna do your tax. Here's how much you have to pay, or you might get a refund because you paid pay as you earn, for example.
But is this like a monthly kind of?
No, it's not.
Because I think of taxes when it's like it's game time.
Yes.
So is it more like after the year is finished, then I call up the tax practitioner. This is what the bookkeeper's done. Okay.
So this is a great day because tomorrow we step into the new financial year.
For sure.
So now you have time between now and the 1st of July, which is when the new tax season starts. You have time to then then have that initial meeting about your 2020 taxes. So it's always going a year back.
Okay.
And then you have that meeting and then you say, okay, here's the things from the bookkeeper. This is my medical aid. This is my retirement annuity. And do I have to pay any? Do I not have to pay any? Where are we at?
It sounds like this bookkeeper is quite important.
Yes.
Bookkeeper is like
especially for
literally the
self-employed. Because I find that you can use a bookkeeper that does your books only annually. But what I find with that is that is not somebody who is going to be involved on a month-to-month basis. I think the month-to-month bookkeeper has worth when you are registered for VAT. That is when you need to have one which you see on a monthly basis.
Second month,
I'm good. I'm getting good game. I'm getting good information. I feel like I'm the only person drinking this wine.
Pinot Noir.
I'd be appreciated if you guys would join me.
Dr. Dre. Top 5 mistakes that individuals make when they're handling their tax affairs.
When they do, it's when overall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Dre, could we do this after the break?
After the break.
It's the Almost Perfect podcast.
Hey, it's Bob Perfect here from the Almost Perfect podcast, a celebration of fuck-ups, failures, and falling flat on your face. It is a podcast that believes you can learn from experience, but that experience doesn't have to be your own. So come join me every single Friday as I chat to a different creative type. But basically, we chat to various people in the creative industry about how they got to where they are. So if you're trying to get some tips and tricks, or you just like to know that, hey, there's someone out there who is doing it the same way you are, if you want to feel a little less alone in your creative journey, come check it out. It's almostperfect.co.za. Let's check out the next episode of Finance for Hippies.
10 minutes today, Zondaki's on his A game.
Moo. That's what that cow said when it died. It gave its life to my flyness.
So, basically, bro, what's happening on the next episode? Work forever, bro.
What's up, guys? I'm Stando from Easy Equities. You may have seen me in Black Panther. Easy Equities, we're here chatting investments.
War against broke, we fight no white flag.
It's about that time again where we explore the world of art, culture, and heritage.
Hi there, my name is Adewale Adejumo. I'm the co-founder of Dropstore and a podcaster at Apple Aguda. My dream is to make it as easy as possible for anyone to start their online business in South Africa and for people to be happy and fulfilled while doing the things they love. And if you want to find me personally, you can find me on Instagram at Adewale Adejumo. And if you want to do business, you can find my website at dropstore.co.za. Peace.
You need to have lots of money to be good with money, and I just really learned the hard way that no, if you don't know how to manage $1,000, what makes you think you'll know?
Yeah.
What makes you think you'll manage 10,000? What makes you think you'll manage 100,000? So
that's actually it's actually a spiritual concept. Because even in the Bible says, if you can't be trusted with little, how can I trust you with many?
No,
sir,
sure.
I just dropped a spiritual concept.
You're not knowing it.
No, we
No, but
that's
it's like I've been on YouTube a while. Now there's a movement that's been around for a while. Minimalism. Yeah.
Which is I'm.
I think you just touched a nerve.
You touched a nerve.
You just touched a nerve.
For me,
minimalism.
Yeah.
Can he? Why is that? What's deep? It
so
seems like
the minimalism is it has its alternative benefits outside of finance. Because if you apply minimalism in your house, now you open your drawers at your computer. So I've got a computer desk.
Yeah.
My drawers at home, I haven't done minimalism properly in a while.
It's packed.
So I need to open those drawers. Minimalism asks the question, what really needs to be there? And then you take away everything that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
You go through your kitchen. You go to the second and third drawer, not to the first drawer, because the first drawer you always use.
Yeah.
Right? The second, third, and fourth drawer you open up and you say, thanks. What do I need here? What do I normally use? What can I put away? And then after you've gone through your physical positions, you go through your mental positions. What relationships are toxic to me?
For sure.
That I need to remove?
Yeah.
What things are unnecessary that's taking up brain space that I can take away?
that
concept is hard.
That's hectic, and that's a massive. That's a huge art movement, even as well.
Yeah.
Like I could recommend that you check out a guy called Sean Lucas. We'll put it in the notes. He's big into that, but he's a designer, South African designer, just from an artist perspective. And then obviously one of the fathers of minimalism was an artist called Carl Andre, who apparently killed his wife, but he was, and then who was the other one? There's a guy who just did black things. But anyway, but yeah, minimalism. Sorry, I just really would have, because I think how you described it is very directed to how it's executed, even within an artistic term. It's like it's a very impactful movement.
I don't want to lie. When I encountered that concept of minimalism, I have a problem pronouncing minimalism.
Firstly, minimalism.
Minimalism.
And then think back to the quote you said outside before the show. He says he had finance for hippies. We're all about excess. We want more things. You want more. Okay, continue.
But to be honest, for me, the question I always ask is, do I actually need this? Does it bring any benefit, any joy to my life?
That is often the critical question.
Yeah.
Does this add to my life?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't need to be there.
That's the true question.
Yeah.
It's like I looked at my coffee table and I thought maybe I should get another coffee table. But then I asked myself, do I really need a 7,000 rand coffee table?
Exactly.
How is this one performing, meeting my needs? Do I want to buy a 7,000 rand coffee table because I want to be hot?
No, but it also makes you an exquisitely good at. Sorry, it makes you also exquisitely good at shopping.
Yeah, it does.
Because you know exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Right. If you've got the money for it, you know that's a leather jacket.
Yeah.
You can clearly, because looking from the back of minimalism, you're not going to take something that you don't want.
Yeah.
You know, but if you don't have the background of minimalism, then I always joke, or not joke, but Nicolette Mashile doesn't. She doesn't. At one point, she didn't understand the concept of minimalism. It didn't make sense to her. And then she asked some questions on Twitter. We explained it, and then okay.
Nicolette is doing a lot, so I can get how she wouldn't get that. We are still working on trying to get her to the show as well. I think it would be dope, so we hope you'll plug us as well. Will give us like a good word. But I can understand she is doing a lot. She is like, and I really appreciate her execution of everything. You know, I really appreciate her execution. But I think even as with yours as well. So we as we're getting to the final end of the show, I think the final curve of the show, I think we wanted to touch on just artists as per se, you know, just some interesting topics around there. Now I know our brothers are, I mean, I could name a list of artists who keep getting into financial problems. I've got my list here. Shout out to my boy, the North Guard, Deleuze, rapper. He's in some tax trouble right now. Wesley Snipes, he's got some tax trouble. He did 2 years. Shakira, she's got some tax problems. Beanie Siegel is a rapper. He's known as the Wall Street Bully, Andre. So since you're Dr. Dre, Beanie Siegel, he did 2 years in jail. He had tax problems. DJ Euphonic is struggling with tax problems. Teko Modisa, who's an artist on the soccer field, he's got tax problems. And Andre, one thing that's common with all these issues, which I see with all my artistic brothers and sisters, there's this common thing where it's like, I'm going to get someone to handle my taxes. And they all sort of have the same story that I saw with these guys. It's like, I got someone to handle my taxes, but they didn't file for 3 years. I don't know why artists are landing in these kind of positions. And
this leads to the question we posed earlier before the break of the 5 top mistakes that people make when handling their tax affairs.
So I suppose the first thing is realizing that tax is personal. It's part of personal finance. In the Tax Act, or in the Tax Administration Act to be correct, it says that each taxpayer is responsible for their own affairs. And then you can appoint a practitioner to help you out with it.
So you can't blame the tax practitioner?
No, you can't.
That's the law?
Yeah.
Please repeat that again? What?
Each taxpayer are responsible for their own tax affairs.
Okay.
There's no scapegoat.
Okay. So you appoint a tax practitioner. The thing is, and that's why I made the point earlier, and why I made it so abundantly clear that a tax practitioner have to have the experience and then have to have a heart of a teacher. Because then you know that person is invested, that person will get you up to date, that person is not going to drop the ball. Because if they drop the ball, it sucks for you. Because then you are responsible for the taxes at the end of the day, not the practitioner. But let's look at you mentioned a whole bunch of artists there. many of whom I appreciate. Teko Modise, I'm a football fan. You know, I can appreciate that.
Beanie Siegel, I'd strongly recommend the Wall Street Bully, Beanie Siegel.
But let's look at most South African artists who are one-man shows. They are sole proprietors. They don't have a registered company, and they are below the 1 million turnover mark. Now I'm going to drop a bomb. Have you ever heard of turnover tax?
No.
Maybe a tweet.
You haven't heard of it?
I've never.
I sent out a tweet.
I've heard of it. I've never understood the big deal about it.
It was.
Teeth, you know this turnover tax.
Hey man, Teeth was negotiating $1 million deals before we got on the show. Please, yeah.
What is turnover tax?
Turnover tax is by far my best tweet I've sent on Twitter. It went up, I think, 2,000 likes, 1,500 retweets, because people don't know about it. Right? It was a tax that was introduced in 2012. Government has not done much to push it ahead and to change the brackets and to make it attractive. But it's the most attractive thing from a tax point of view.
Turnover tax.
Turnover tax.
We have a song.
Listen to me carefully.
Right.
If you are between 0 and 335,000 in income that you're invoicing, 0% tax.
Andre, Dr. Dre. I think we need to cut the
Doesn't cover employment income, so you're still going to pay your pay as you earn on employment income.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so that's the first bracket. Second bracket, 335 to 500,000 is 1%.
This is like if you're freelancing.
This is like no, not freelancing. There's a difference. We will talk about definitions a bit later if there's time for it. Okay. Then from 500,000 to 750, you've got 2%.
No.
And then from 750 to 1 million, you've got 3%.
No.
If you are below 1 million, right, and you are registered for turnover tax, you've done it the right way. The most tax that you will pay in a tax year outside of employment income and pay as you earn, forget about that for a second, you are going to pay less than 16,000 Rand of tax.
Can you tell me how I get registered to this? Please, how do I?
That is going to take us employment income.
How do I become registered for turnover tax? What are the hoops I need to jump through?
I mean, if I do the application now, let's say I start my business now. I only find out about turnover tax, but I'm starting my business fresh, and I register now. I can qualify for the next tax year, 2021 tax year, for turnover tax. And then I file my turnover tax return to SARS.
And do you know how many people are making within the numbers that you... Most people are making within the numbers that you are talking
90%? 95%?
No, SARS needs to push this knowledge.
And also, turnover tax, now here's a caveat. Number one, if your expenses are a lot, like crazy a lot, you don't get the benefit of claiming those expenses.
Okay.
So that's just one caveat.
Yeah. Okay.
But still, from a tax point of view, you are paying almost next to nothing. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing, so that's the first caveat. The second caveat, it is only limited to certain industries. I, as a tax practitioner, can't register for turnover tax. An accountant can't register for turnover tax. A doctor, a lawyer, architect can't register for turnover tax. So the guys who studied heavy stuff and then got the degrees and then are advisors and managers and those guys can't register for turnover tax. But who can register for turnover tax? The artist.
Rappers.
The musician.
Bars.
Finance for Hippies has done it again.
Are you serious?
Right?
Pioneered in the tax
graphics
industry.
design guys.
Are you... Wow, bro.
Seriously?
Right?
No, seriously.
The guys who does the front end on website designs and stuff.
Yeah.
Turnover tax.
Seriously?
Yeah. Back end, because they studied IT.
Yeah.
And they have to have a degree in IT engineering to do those programming.
Yeah.
They can't register for turnover tax. But the guys who makes things pretty, turnover tax. If you're a shoe cobbler, you make shoes, turnover tax. Why not? It's not excluded out of that window. And the window is specifically called professional services. Under professional services, you have auditors, bookkeepers, accountants,
You're
doctors.
a professional. You don't fall in it when you're a professional. Is that correct?
And don't be.
I get the context of what you're saying with
you find me offensive, I find you offensive, for finding me offensive. Don't feel offended for not being considered by the Tax Act a professional.
No, offend these guys.
Just look at the definition.
These guys need to feel it in the heart.
If you're outside,
you're trying to give some game here.
If you're outside that definition, you can register for turnover tax. The only caveat is if you've started your business a while ago and you register for turnover tax today, it will only apply in the next tax year. And that is it. That's the 3 caveats.
No, we got time. We got mad time for this.
That's really, really beautiful, man. And maybe I'd like to just simply interrogate why would you maybe assume that kind of I don't know if I'm using the right word, but that concession was made. Yeah, why would you think that? Because that sounds
amazing.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing.
You mean from a SaaS point of view or from the individual?
From a SaaS point of view, like why that was kind of where they got to it.
That's a good question. From an individual, it's quite clear why.
It's quite clear what the benefits are.
From
a SaaS point of view, I mean, these guys, what are your expenses? If you're a photographer, right, but you're not working for like a news company or whatever, you're on your own, right? You cut in below 1 million. What's your expenses? Other than the assets that you have to buy, which is expensive, what's your expenses?
The camera over there.
No, but that's an asset.
Yeah. Or
right?
the actual
I'm
expenses.
talking about the actual expenses, not a lot.
Yeah.
You are earning 500k, your expenses are 100k, your tax on that, so I'm looking at 80,000 rand. On turnover tax, 6,000 rand. Now, why did SARS do this?
Funk is our sound
because they want to push small
engineer is
business. They want to push the small guys. Who can't register? If you are a director of a company and you want to register for turnover tax for your personal thing that you're doing on the side, you can't. It's the honest small guy.
Yeah, no, I hear
who's got the one business.
Yeah.
The one thing.
It's the law written for the hippie.
So
it's for the hippie.
Hypothetically speaking, if you were a musician, let's say my name is Funk.
Doing gigs.
My name is C Funk. Let's say I'm an R&B musician. Okay.
Every month I'm clocking 3 gigs. They're giving me a good 100k per month. Expenses are low, other than the odd here and there. I hire TeethSwag to be my backup singer right there and there. He's like $100. That means that money I can register for turnover tax, and then I get tax.
But remember, you said 100,000 a month. That takes you up to 1.2 million.
No, 50,000.
Okay, 50,000.
Yeah.
50,000.
Dark is only declaring 50,000. He's declaring 50,000.
50k is still under the bracket. Now, here's a bit of so let's say you do decide to register for turnover tax and you are doing well. You're at nearly the million mark. Now the problem is, if you go over the million mark, 2 things happen. You're going to have to register for VAT, which we touched on earlier, and you no longer qualify for turnover tax. So, my best advice is if you are near that million mark, smash it as hard as possible.
What do you mean? Just
you want in that year, you want to do a turnover of 1.5.
You don't want to tip around
then the tax hit won't be too bad. But if you just creep over it, it's gonna knock you hard.
This leads us into another concept.
Yes.
Tax avoidance and tax evasion.
Okay.
When you are Don Salamanca and you are a drug dealer, you lie in the area of tax evasion.
Yeah.
When you are a corporate CFO, you want to play in the area of tax avoidance. Tell us about those 2 concepts.
So tax avoidance is exactly what I was talking about when that judge made the famous judgment that each taxpayer may manage his or her affairs within the ambit of a law. It's fine. That is tax avoidance. Now there is some special measures of things that SARS have picked up. That's funny things that they call it. There's regulation around certain tax avoidance measures that people do that they've picked up on that they want to stab down. But then you have tax evasion. Tax evasion is I'm earning a salary. Pay as you earn, my company forgot to register me for tax, but at the end of the day, I don't declare it to SARS. That's evasion. That's strict evasion. A famous form of evasion, which SARS is, I think it's a real problem for them. I can imagine is cash-run businesses.
Of course.
Now you see, cash-only businesses.
Like the taxi industry.
Not going to mention any specific industries.
Let's leave them
but
out of
that
this.
industry which says we don't take cards, we only take cash.
Cash-only industries often don't have a proper bookkeeping or any. And so if there's no books, there's nothing. What do you send to SARS? That's a form of avoidance. So it can be anything from not declaring that you've sold a property, and you did, and then you could get hit with penalties. So the penalties on evading taxes are quite steep.
For sure.
I hate to even ask this, even though we're getting to the end, but this could include Stokvels, right?
This could include
Stokvels.
What's that? Oh yes, Stokvels, the combining of funds to.
Go into that a bit. How has SARS viewed these, which is recent, over the last 5 years? Stokvels have really reared their head up. They've been around for many decades, but now they're taking quite a lot of prominence, which offers another business opportunity. Banks have jumped into the bandwagon. But how is SARS looking at them? Has there been developments around that area?
To be honest, I haven't delved very deep into that. But my question is always, what's the flow of money, and how is that flow of money being taxed? So if I were to invest my money in a normal bank, put it in a savings account, let it just sit there and do nothing, I'm going to earn some interest. So that interest gets taxed. The flow of money is interest. That's the type of income that gets taxed. A stokvel, what type of income is coming from a stokvel? That is the question. If it's interest, you're going to pay tax on the interest. If it's dividends, it is you pay 20%. And then you pay nothing as the individual, or you actually pay a net of 80%. But anyway, so that is a two-type. That is because a stokvel is at the end of the day, by definition, an investment.
True.
So whatever its earnings is for the individuals who invested in it, it depends on what type of income is coming from a stokvel, and then we can say how is that income from a stokvel being taxed.
No, the bars.
No, Andre, I'm guys. I really feel like this DMZ. I don't know. I think it only affected me. I've probably got 1 or 2 questions. I'll be honest. I had a lot more questions to ask, but I think it is important that we wrap up the show before we're over. I think you've really been able to just touch on some crazy, just like some crazy elements, some crazy components that we wanted to deal with. I've pretty much got one more question out, but I'll let Ndaki. I'm trying to find it. So okay. I'd ask you to maybe ask your last question, and then I'll ask
the last question.
No, you ask your last question. I'll ask my last question. Nigga, you Biggie, I'm Tupac.
Personally, in a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfect, 1 being mediocre, how do you personally handle your affairs, tax-wise?
Tax-wise, it's very simple. I'm a standard employee. My wife has the medical aid in her name, so she's getting the benefit of the tax credits there. I'm invested in a tax-free savings account, which means that the earnings from that has no tax on it.
What's the threshold of that?
The threshold went up to 36,000 a year.
For sure.
So yeah, so that is what and that is in my son's name because it's for his education.
So in plain English, what you said is you invested in a tax-free savings. What's this 36,000? What does that mean?
It's the annual limit of how much you can put in per year.
Okay,
so if you go over, SARS is going to smack you with a 40% penalty of what you put in extra.
And it's going to his son's education. Okay. Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is it, I don't have any other fancy things going on.
Nothing exotic.
No.
What's the most exotic plan you've ever come up with?
You said that was your last question.
I know.
I know exotic plans.
What's the most exotic plan you've ever come up with for a customer?
For
a client.
Now, I'm going to tell a little VAT story. Because I don't, colorful schemes, that I haven't done that enough.
Yeah. Vanilla is always recommended. Yeah.
Now, there's a, and this is a funny story from a SARS point of view. So there's a mall. I mean, have you ever, you've shopped at maybe Willowbridge Mall in Cape Town? So Willowbridge.
I've been there
It's
once,
close to Tiger Valley.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Tiger, for sure.
So Willowbridge, I was appointed to do the VAT registration for Willowbridge Mall.
Yeah, okay.
Right, massive contract. Okay, yeah. So I'll do the VAT registration. I go to SARS. I've got the documents. I send them in, and SARS is teetering on small little things. Where's the rental contracts for these places and whatnot. And eventually I give it. And as a comical thing, I'm like, and so the manager comes to verify the documents and say, have you shopped at Willowbridge?
Okay.
Yeah, you've seen it's a legitimate business, right?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. VAT, registered, done, immediately there. Why? For SARS to register for VAT, your business has to be a legitimate business. The scheme that some companies want to do, and what I don't personally like, because I like to do things the right way, is a lot of companies want to register for VAT by creating fictitious invoices to pretend that they're earning over 50,000 to make sure that they get VAT registered. But yeah, I mean, I pulled it through, and that company is registered for VAT, and it's all good. So yeah, the biggest VAT registration I've ever done. I think it was something like 100 million rand VAT registration.
We thought you were talking
so
finance for happiness. I won't lie to you, I can't even imagine the number you're saying. I'll pretend like I can, but I get it. I think possibly, I think my last question on this part, for this episode is, obviously, just from your side, I think I really appreciate the passion and stuff that you have just for the industry you're in, and just the work you're doing, Andre. Is really like, yo, Dr. Dre, you're really doing what you're doing. You are really doing what you're doing.
When I kicked off this intro with Dr. Dre, Dre's thing, why he's done this for decades and decades, is passion.
The producer,
and that's the passion that you really have.
Exactly. Everything you're doing comes from like a genuine place. And maybe I would just like at least to know, like, where do you then, where are you trying to take it? You've got a son, you've got a wife, and you talk about them a lot. I mean, I even saw an Instagram post where you're like, just like, your aim in life is just to be like an amazing dad or something like that. But with all the work you're doing, I guess, what's the vision? Yeah, what's the vision? What's the bigger picture? Are you sitting? Where do you want to take this?
So I mean, I started that YouTube channel on about tax, and the one thing is, you ask a kid, or you want to teach your son about tax, and so I've got a little story. So you go to the ice cream parlor, and you buy your son an ice cream, but before you give it to him, you eat half of it. So
I do that to my son.
So you start there, and then they know a little bit more about, okay, so that's how tax works. Because dad takes care of the son, so he knows, okay, that's tax. Okay, but the thing is, now you go to school, and they don't teach you about tax. Then you get your first pay slip. You see pay as you earn coming off it.
20 years later.
Yeah. You see your salary. It's supposed to be 15K, but at the end of the day, your salary that comes into your bank account is 10. And you ask what? What's this?
Jesus.
Why?
Where's my 5K?
Then you go to payroll and you say, no, this pays you earn. What's pays you earn?
What's pays you earn?
And that's the question on people's mouths. What is pays you earn? Why is that even a question?
True.
You know what I mean?
At the age of 20, 21 years old, 25.
So you start there. I want to educate people. This is what pay as you earn is. This is what VAT is. This is why you pay tax. This is what tax is for. And then I can delve into deeper stuff because I do deeper stuff.
Yeah.
I've got the legal background.
Yeah.
This is tax residency. This is what it means if you're an expat.
Yeah.
This is what it means when you sell a property. This is what it means if you're an artist. This is what it means if you're an individual.
Yeah.
If you're a pub owner. If you sell wines. If you make wines.
Yeah.
If you sell drugs. You're covering the whole.
Excluding that.
Cocaine, methamphetamine.
No, Andre, man.
An educated nation
No, that's
will
true.
pay the tax.
No, definitely.
No, Andre, man. I think, like, wow, man. I think your YouTube page, anybody who's listening to this episode, I think your YouTube page is literally like a crash course in just like, bringing people to just to the right pace about the taxes. And wherever it came from, whether it came from your grandfather, whether it came from your family, I think it's just like, it's amazing work that you're doing. I think, I was just really happy to, from my side, I was just really happy to kind of find that there's somebody who is willing to share that kind of information. Because when I started really searching for this kind of information, all I was finding was overseas, like podcasts, overseas information. We were even last night, we had an issue with Ndaka where I was asking him, like, what the hell is a 401k? But then he kind of broke it down. It was like, it's the same thing in South Africa. I think it's what? It's a what is it?
Retirement annuity?
It's no. Yeah. But like when you're watching these podcasts, you're always like a 401k. Because the people who have the information, there's not many people, like whether in South Africa or Africa, giving just like financial information. So I think from my side, when I found your channel, I'm not in the industry in that way, but I still need to understand those things as somebody who is trying to run, creative business, whether it's in the arts. So I'm really thankful that you came through. I wish I could even explain to you how much like we appreciate the work that you're doing. I'm serious, man. Like you can laugh, dude, but like it's like, I swear to you can laugh, but you said that tax is personal. I asked people before this episode, I was like, what tax issues do you have? People are scared. A lot of people didn't even get back to me because they're like, I realized tax is a personal thing. And for me as well, it was hard. Even when before the show, he was asking me things and I was like, I don't want to discuss this publicly. This is like, I don't even know what questions to ask. So I think your platform is like, I can literally sit from the safety of my home on a YouTube page and be like, how do I e-file?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna make more videos this year. I've just taken a 2-month hiatus because I started this new job, but I'm planning to make more videos.
No, for sure.
My final thing is thank you for that. I hope we figure out ways to just keep being in the same conversation. I really appreciate it, man. I don't know what Ndaki's closing word is, but from TeethSwag, you're right with me, man. You're validated on the streets. If you're on the streets. You're street cred, man. Andre, he's Dr. Dre. Yeah. He's the dude, man. He's the dude. He's out here. Peace.
Finance for Hippies moves around different facets of life. We touch on music, art, beauty, of many different things. Today we touched on a concept that usually doesn't get the light and credit it deserves. Is doing right by your country, doing right by the government, being a responsible citizen, and paying your taxes. In many other countries, people, I don't know if you've ever heard an American, after every rant, they said, I pay my taxes. And it's something that one, especially South Africans, should be proud of. Finance for Hippies is pushing the envelope for the normal person who's not in finance, who's not financially inclined, to know that they have a responsibility to pay taxes, how they can pay taxes, what mechanisms are allowed to pay taxes, what benefits they can enjoy from paying taxes. This is what Finance for Hippies is for.
Yeah.
Educating on subjects that usually don't get the best attention, the best light, where it's not commercially viable for people to be discussing tax.
Yeah.
But Dr. Dre, aka Andre, is pushing that envelope.
Oh, thanks, guys.
He's, as he mentioned, there's many entities with big budgets that could legitimately make educational videos and so forth around this, that they do not. You ask yourself, why is he doing this? And it's something that we should really pay cognizance of, and we should do our part as South Africans.
Yeah.
From Finance for Hippies, I'd like to thank Andre, and regardless of the commercial success of his videos, the commercial success of Finance for Hippies, I'd like to know that what we're doing, we know it's valuable. Whether you recognize it or not, it is. And you will be a better artist, person, institution, and society afterwards.
Now cut that check.
Andre,
thanks, guys. Thanks
thank
for
you very
having me.
much.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
No, it's a pleasure.
It was great.
From one topic that we weren't too inspired of, we're hell of excited to register for that turnover revenue tax.
Turnover tax is coming. Turnover tax.
Over and out.
Turnover track coming soon.